YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here. Want to bring you some unit testing with the Tomb Kings. Let's take a look at their infantry. We're not even going to really look at skeleton spears or skeletons because they're just meat shield trash. Well, bone shield trash, we should say. Let's do some testing with some Najara Warriors, and let's just take them up against similarly priced infantry. These guys are 575. That's actually pretty expensive for a cheap infantry unit. So let's test them up against, in this case, you know, maybe a good start spot. Sword and shield, no abilities, items, couple bleak swords, for instance. And let's just see how this turns out. See you on the battlefield. Alright, here we are in the battlefield now. You'll notice I'm testing against the AI because I usually test against myself using a second Steam account, but I can't do that because my second account can't have access to the Tomb Kings yet. So we're gonna have to hope that the AI cooperates. They'll do their best. We'll take the Tomb King, or the Tomb King straight up against the Dreadlord. 450, 400. The Tomb King might be better there. We'll see. Let's just see how Najara Warriors square off against a slightly cheaper but similar tier foe in the Bleak Swords. Let's just fast forward, kind of see. Everybody's kind of fighting their own 1v1, so this should be fairly valid test result. If you look there, the so far pretty equal trade. The Tomb King got his butt kicked though by the. Oh, hang on, let's pause it because the Tomb King is about to. He's about to die, and let's kind of see what the results are. So 29 kills to only 22 kills on the Bleak Swords, 33 kills to only 21 kills. So I think it's pretty clear from this that if your Tomb King wasn't getting the crap kicked out of him, your Najara Warriors are gonna have a victory. But of course, as soon as my lord kicks the bucket, things are going to be a little different here. So yeah, again, this will make it slightly more difficult to test against the AI. But yeah, even with the death of my lord, you can see the Najara Warriors definitely a superior unit to Bleak Swords. They got some healing here too whenever enough of them died. Yeah, they would have won that had they not crumbled due to the loss of the lord at the end. So Najara Warriors better than Bleak Swords, but I mean, that's a pretty steep cost difference between the two. It's 125 extra, and it wasn't terribly convincing, to be honest. Let's try them against some other infantry of roughly that price range, so I can think of the Empire, for instance. Let's trash that. You know what we could do? Let's bring 3 Najara Warriors. One of them will just keep an enemy lord busy, so that my lord won't die. And then let's get a couple of Flagellants, who are pretty much in the same price range here. Alright, my gut tells me here that Tomb King's infantry is probably going to be a lot like Vampire infantry in the sense that it's not going to be very cost effective. It's just going to be fodder for, you know, better monster type units and stuff. Let's back our Tomb Prince out. Let's just see how we do against Flagellants. I mean, my Najara Warriors have 45 armor. You would hope that they would do better against the Flagellants, who have 0 armor. Both are similar damage-dealing units that are roughly the same price. And it looks like the Najara Warriors are going to pull off a pretty stout victory here against the Flagellants. So armor difference is probably a big reason for that. Flagellants really can't be fighting against hardly any armor. Now, granted, we routed the enemy lord, but it's Flagellants, so it won't matter. So yeah, that's going to be a pretty decisive victory for the Najara Warriors. Let's check the results of that real quick. So 90 kills, 44 remaining, 38 remaining. So convincing win over Flagellants. Okay, the next test we're going to do is going to be Najara Warriors against Crypt Ghouls. Again, low armor, high damage units facing off against each other. Crypt Ghouls poison enemies though, and even though they're not alive, I believe that the Tomb Kings are going to suffer from the poison they do. So let's see how it works. Crypt Ghouls, oh crap, I ended up with the second unit attacking here. Let's back out of that. This one will be a clean fight over here. Yeah, AI fudged that one up over there. So let's see how this fight turns out. This one was a clean fight. Najara Warriors are actually beasting this one out, and I'm going to assume that it's because of the 45 armor. So even though there's poison, the 45 armor seems to be playing a role, though it's a close fight. I think it'll eventually swing harder in favor of the Najara Warriors. So, I mean, Najara Warriors appear to be a pretty decent quality at killing low armor foes. Like, better than some enemy units even. Like, or comparable units. Like, so they beat Flagellants. They beat these guys. Let's see how they go up against some Beastmen infantry of similar cost. Alright, this time we're going to test against Gore Herds with shields, which are right in that same price range. Gore Herds have less armor, but I'm pretty sure they have better melee stats. I haven't checked it head-to-head. Yeah, they do. I mean, they got better speed. Actually, melee attack's a little better for Najara Warriors. The charge is better for the Beastmen. Let's see what happens. This would be a pretty interesting test, because Beastmen tend to have pretty useful low armor infantry. And then we'll also test them out against like Savage Orcs and see how that works out, because those are all comparable units of comparable price. Let's fast forward and see what happens. The Gore Herds are performing well. And they cost slightly less, I think, actually. What I'm thinking may hurt the Gore Herds is that the Najara Warriors do not rout. So in a long, drawn-out fight like this, yeah, and see the healing kicks in too after enough skeletal units die. It's this ability up here, Realm of Souls. So there was 7 seconds of healing. Which, I mean, if you start killing a bunch of skeletons, it's going to happen. It looks like the Najara Warriors are going to just barely pull this off. So then Beastmen, like I said, Beastmen are pretty good at this role. And the Najara Warriors, 39 left, 42 left. They lost more hit points that time, but they still had a lot of units left. So Najara Warriors going to beat Gore Herds with shields. Let's check Savage Orcs. This time we're going to test the Savage Orcs, like I mentioned. Savage Orcs are going to come in with a more punishing weapon strength and melee attack. Less armor, though. No armor, in fact. Najara Warriors are packing 45 armor, and so far that's been the difference between their opponents and themselves. It's actually gave them a win. Savage Orcs also have Frenzy. Let's see how that plays out. So if the Savage Orcs get below, I think it's 50% whenever the Frenzy's in play. Yeah, it has to be lower than 50%. Yeah, Savage Orcs are trading very well right now. Very well. There comes the healing. The Night Gobble's trying to break free. So there may be a little bit of messed up stuff in this test, but I mean, I think we can see the Savage Orcs are coming out superior here. That Frenzy, I think, puts them up over the top. They do have some superior stats there as well. Charge, bonus, weapon strength, and melee attack, all superior. And then couple it with Frenzy, and it looks like it's enough to make the difference. So, yeah, the Savage Orcs best the Najara Warriors, so don't use that strategy. Najara Warriors inferior to Savage Orcs. So let's concede defeat and head on out of here. Alright, so what happens when you get into the higher tier infantry of the Tomb Kings? How are they going to square off? Well, I mean, they do not have an armor-piercing infantry besides Tomb Guards with Hal Birds, and they lack a significant amount of armor over other factions' armored infantry. So honestly, Tomb Kings are going to lose, period, in an infantry fight to any faction who has considerable armor-piercing infantry. But you don't even really need really good armor-piercing infantry because Tomb King's infantry isn't packing a lot of armor. They do pack a heck of a lot of melee defense, though, so these guys are going to stand their ground for a while, armor and shield. And then when we look at this Legions of Legend, whatever the heck it is, magical attacks, that could be useful. And then weapon strength here at 47, that's pretty big. I mean, that's some pretty significant weapon strength. So it'd be interesting to see how these guys play out. So what I'm going to do, just for the sake of wanting some... oh, you know what might be a good one? Because, well, the price is a little low. Let's not do the Foot Squires because they kind of suck. Let's test the Empire, because what this will do is this will give the benefit of the doubt to the Empire. And Great Swords are actually kind of made for this anti-infantry role, so... let's see what happens. I'm gonna just use this one to hold the Empire Captain, or yeah, whatever it is. And then the Tomb Guard is gonna be one test, and then the Capra Tomb Guard Let's see how it works. Alright, the Capra Tomb Guard is the one over here on my far left. It's going to be going up against a Greatsword, and then the regular Tomb Guard going to be over here. So, I mean, my guys have a lot more melee defense than the Greatswords, and this guy over here is going to be regenerating. So it'll be interesting to see how it stacks up. And then in terms of weapon strength, my guys have a lot more weapon strength, but the Greatswords are going to have a bonus versus infantry, and they're going to have armor piercing to a pretty significant degree. So I would expect that this Capra Tomb Guard might pay itself out here, but I'm thinking the regular Tomb Guard just gets face rolled by the Great Swords. Let's check it. I'm going to fast forward. Again, you can see how defensive the Tomb Guard are. They're going to last a long time here. This is not going to be like an instant victory by any means for the Great Swords, and especially since my units won't rout. And then look at this, the Capra Tomb Guard is just going to straight up win. Yeah, they're just going to straight up win. That regeneration is significant. And honestly, this Tomb Guard, look at what the fight it puts up over here. Look how long it's holding out for. Again, that defense. 34 kills, 57 kills, 62 kills to 36 kills. So look what a difference that regeneration makes there. And then here comes some healing for my units because they hit this tier 1 Realm of Souls. So that Capra Tomb Guard easily besting a Greatsword. And Greatswords did get some changes in this patch. This regular Greatsword, though, easily besting a Tomb Guard. So there's the difference that your extra money gets you there. With the Capra Tomb Guard, it actually wins. As opposed to, you're going to lose, but you're going to hold your ground for quite a while and do some pretty significant damage to the Greatswords over here. So, I don't know, in my opinion, that's not a terrible trade against Greatswords, because these Tomb Guards go down so hard and they cost less, meaning you might have some money left over to spend elsewhere, whereas the Empire player had to outspend you. What'd you all think of that result? It's kind of interesting. Greatswords, I mean, if I test these guys against others, I mean, it might be interesting to see just how far the Capra Tomb Guard will go in terms of what they'll win. But I think what we can say, you know, Greatswords, other than what do you call them, the Foot Squires, or even lower, so I would expect that Foot Squires might actually lose that matchup. But this Capra Tomb Guard here, that's a pretty good one. We'll have to see how high it can match up against stuff. I'm not going to do it right this instant, but it just means that the Tomb Kings are only going to be able to hold in terms of an infantry line against an enemy infantry line. Now what we could do is we could test this unit. It doesn't have a charge bonus, though, or a charge defense against standard units. It's only against large. And it does have more armor piercing, and it's got good melee defense, but its melee attack is kind of crappy. So I don't think that you'd get a ton better result with the Tomb Guards with Hal Birds, because you're trading off. So that's their infantry. Is basically you're going to be outmatched most of the time in infantry. You're going to have to find a way, I think, to use your monsters and other advantages. Now, skeleton archers, there's not a lot of reason to test these guys. 140 range, 16 damage. Yeah, I mean, they're skeleton archers. This one here has armor sundering, so this unit is going to be a very nice one to have. So again, like that fight there, you sunder some armor, you might win it. In terms of cavalry, though, when we take a look, we've got skeleton horse, which are very cheap. Then we got Necro horsemen. So this one claims to be an anti-infantry cavalry, and I can see that. It's got pretty decent melee defense. And yeah, it causes fear, which could be handy, and some rear charges there. 650, though, that's pretty steep. I think out of curiosity, right now I've tested some of the infantry. I don't think there's a reason to test head-to-head. These are not, neither one of these units is meant to be anti-cavalry. These guys are just really going to be up for light infantry and skirmishers. Chariots, again, not a ton of reason to test these guys here. They're going to be good against enemy infantry. So, like for instance, if you bring Najara Warriors, you might want to support them with skeleton chariots. And stuff like that to help take down it, or Tomb Guards supported with, you know, a skeleton chariot may make them effective enough to win some of those fights they need. But skeleton chariots are pretty squishy too, so you got to be careful. Carrion is just going to be a fast-moving annoyance unit, and at 350 they're pretty comparable to Fellbats. Now let's start taking a look at some of these other ones. We got Shabti here, which is a monstrous infantry, 100 armor, which is significant, and they have a bonus versus infantry plus armor piercing. Let's say how these guys stack up. Are they the replacement that you need as Tomb Kings? Should you be having a construct go up against enemy infantry rather than, you know, what I just did there? And out of curiosity too, this Necrotech, see, he buffs the hit points and stuff. Now I'm not going to use this just right now, but the Necrotech can buff these guys further. Let's get a couple of Shabti here and see how they square off against, and I'm just going to bring one Najara Warrior to face off against the Lord. And let's see how they face off against Greatswords. Okay, here's going to be the Shabti versus the Greatswords. Remember, Greatswords are anti-infantry, and I guess technically these guys are infantry. Does anybody know, when you have an infantry bonus, does it count versus monstrous infantry or not? Look at the Shabti, man. They are just unleashing it all over these Greatswords. Look at that. And this is without a Necrotech present. Yeah, these construct units just look freaking awesome. They look really good. Right now, they are just obliterating Greatswords. So it looks like rather than Tomb Guard being your idea, you'd probably want something like skeletons supported by stuff like this for destroying enemy infantry. Looks like that's going to be the ticket. So skeletons, and then just for fodder. The Shabti here are just laying waste to the Greatswords, and that's with the enemy lord over here fighting back against one of the Shabti. Am I saying that right? Yeah, Shabti. Yeah, look at that, man. They just decimated the Greatsword. They're going to do it with about half of their hit points left, and this one a little under half, but again, that's with a General of the Empire fighting back. So that's an impressive result, and this was with no Necrotech either. So clear victory against Greatswords for Shabti. There's 63 kills, only 2 constructs lost during that fight. And over here, they've lost a few more one more construct because of the General of the Empire being in there. They're still going to gain a victory, even with the Lord right there in the middle of that fight. Look at that. Still gained a victory with 8 left. So, pretty satisfying result there. So now I think the question is, how far will Shabti go? I mean, can they up the ante? Can they go up against an elite infantry that's not as underwhelming as Greatswords? Again, I know Greatswords just took a couple of improvements, but let's see. Let's throw the black is the new green black Orcs out here. Let's see how Shabti go up against them, because now you're talking a cost savings for the Tomb Kings if they can win. Alright, here we go. The Shabti versus Black Orcs. Black Orcs are going to pack a significantly more intense wallop. We're going to try and tie down the Gobbo War Boss. Alright, there goes the Shabti. So 72 weapon strength, 12 constructs. Black Orcs, good charge bonus, very good armor. 1150 cost, 900 cost for the Shabti. So far the fight goes good for the Shabti. Let's fast forward. Actually, let's get some close-ups and then we'll fast forward. I gotta slow down my scroll speed. I got it like all sped up so I can try and be quicker in battles. Check out that sweet fight there. Alright, now let's fast forward. It looks like the Shabti might take this. If so, Tomb Kings are gonna be a nightmare to certain factions if they can get away with this, like just throwing the monstrous infantry straight in and winning. It looks like you may need a skeleton to help this happen, because the Shabti are getting a little beat up, or a Necrotech to do some healing, but that is still a pretty solid trade for the Tomb Kings. You're going to get some crumbling now, but it's going to be close. The result is going to be quite close. You're going to have 24 Black Orcs out of 60 left, and not very many hit points. 28 left over here, so that finally crumbled. So they're not going to defeat the Black Orc, but they are definitely going to get their money's worth out of that fight. A little skeleton support? I don't know, they may even win that if there's something to meat shield for the Shabti a little. So honestly, that's very impressive results. So Shabti looked to be a very promising unit. Alright, so we just looked at a test with the Shabti, but there's also this Shabti with Great Bow, which is still less than the Black Orcs. It has armor-piercing weapon strength here when it gets into melee. It's slightly less weapon strength, and the melee attack's only 23 versus... well, it's still 23 there. 35 defense, 72. But there's an anti-infantry bonus on these guys, and there is not on these ones. But they have 22, 124 damage, armor-piercing missiles. Let's see how that works out. Like, if they get some shots before the fight, and they've got some range at 255. It's no joke. All right, let's watch these Shabti with great bow. And I'm going to allow them to put some volleys in and then see if they can defeat the Black Orcs. This would be interesting. So, again, they cost the same as the Black Orcs. I mean, they're kind of an interesting unit. They're almost kind of like a hybrid between a skirmisher and an infantry, but they're a monstrous infantry, and like I said, they can be supported by a necrotect as well. These missiles cause significant damage. There's not a lot of them in each volley, but they cause significant damage. You can see over here, it's already starting to pile up a little, and they're going to get off quite a few volleys before the enemy can get in range because of their long range. So it might be that these guys become the better pick for infantry busting. We'll see. Fast forward, let's just look at the damage that the Black Orcs have to take on approach. That is a lot of damage. That is no insignificant amount of damage. We can probably get one more volley in and then charge. The charge bonus, not real great on these guys, but we want to get it. Come on, one more shot. There we go. Shot. Alright, let's see what happens. He's Shabti with great bow. Can they defeat the Black Orcs? I would think so, but we shall see, because they don't have the anti-infantry bonus, so let's remember that. Ooh, the Black Orcs are kicking back fast. Look at that. Look at that. Black Orcs just turned around and annihilated that unit without the anti-infantry. So it's honestly a similar result. So if you were going to use the Shabti with the Great Bow, they're going to have to keep their distance, and they can because they have 54 speed. You would need some skeletons or something to just hold while these guys tried to do the damage. So it will not work to shoot up your opponent and then just go straight into melee. They need to continue shooting and be used in the very late game when these units have taken a significant beating. So interesting result. All right, let's look at some of these other construct units. We have Sepulchral. It's like sepulcher, right? Sepulchral Stalkers. Yeah, whatever. Sepulchral Stalkers. Sepulchral Stalkers. Okay, I'm gonna try and learn how to say it. These guys are anti-large, anti-armor. That is a pretty significant bonus versus large too. They even have poison missiles before entering contact. Whew, that's gonna be interesting. Anti-large, yeah. So let's test these guys out against some foes, and where better to start than with, say, like a Demigryph Knight with Hal Birds. No charge bonus, so to speak, for the Stalkers. When they get into combat, though, I mean, they've got some decent stats, and they can poison an enemy charge incoming. They're only going to get probably one volley off, though, due to the range, if they get the volley off. So let's swap this over to the Empire, and see what we can do here. So again, this is a pretty steep test to come up against. Let's see what happens. All right, first off, let's get a look at these things. They are really cool looking, like a giant snake thing. The constructs look awesome. It's like they've almost got some kind of like undead electricity flowing through them at all times. It's the magic, I guess, that keeps them moving, that animates them. So it's pretty darn cool. Let's see if we can poison the Demigryph Knights. And then I'm expecting the Demigryph Knights are going to win this. There's a pretty significant armor difference. The Stalkers do have better weapon strength, though. Come on, get that poison missile attack off. Shoot, shoot, shoot! It looks like they have trouble shooting quickly when a target's moving around their flank. Maybe if they're head-on, they'll get it. Alright, there we go. Now you can attack. I'm just going to attack over here. So one, we got the poison before the charge. One, we did not. Let's see what the results look like. This one's losing very quickly to the Demigryph Knights. Little bit better trade. The Demigryph Knights pulled out over here and then re-engaged. One way or the other, Demigryph Knights appear to be significantly superior. And it's going to be the 125 armor, I'm thinking, that makes a big difference there. The Stalkers do have some significant anti-armor, anti-large capability. The problem is going to be you're going to have to meat shield them against cavalry like Demigryph Knights in order to, I think, make things successful. So interesting unit and definite capability, but going to require some meat shielding. Let's take a look at this Legion of Legend here. This Chosen of the... or that's a new Shabti with Great Bow. They have a special ability, though. Shield breaker, wow, so it makes other units more vulnerable to missiles, so that's interesting. We'll see how those guys play out. Necropolis Knights, they have poison attacks. They don't have an anti-large, but with poison attacks, that kind of makes me wonder how these guys stack up against something like Demigryph Knights. I still think they're going to lose, but let's see what it looks like. So there's 18 of these things in a unit as opposed to 24 Demigryph Knights. We'll see whether the poison is enough to get the job done here. And you're talking 66 speed to 73 speed, 50 charge bonus to 50 charge bonus. I don't know, the poison, let's see how significant it is. So here's the giant snake-like constructs. They do look really cool. Yeah, there's the poison attack. So it's basically going to take away weapon strength from the Demigryph Knights. It's going to be the net effect. Wow, they are getting crushed by Demigryph Knights, though. It's got to be armor, I'm guessing. Yeah, 125 armor to 90 armor. And anti-large and no anti-large for the Necropolis Knights. So a cool unit, but yeah. I mean, I almost think they're going to be better off against infantry. Without that anti-large, they just get absolutely spanked by anti-large cavalry. Again, maybe good against cavalry that's not anti-large specifically, and probably good against armored infantry. Probably not so much here. You know what may be curious is the Necropolis Knights going up against something like a Black Orc. We might have to check that out real quick. Alright, here it goes. Necropolis Knights versus Black Orcs. Let's see if they do better versus infantry. It may just be kind of a middle-of-the-road unit. I mean, poison attacks are really good, but since they don't have a bonus versus large or infantry, it may leave them to be more of a specialty unit rather than like a head-to-head type of destruction. Now, they are doing some significant weapon damage, leadership damage and stuff to the Black Orcs, and the Black Orcs are not having as easy of a time killing these as the Demigryph Knights for obvious reasons, because the Demigryph Knights have anti-large, whereas the Black Orcs do not. So let's see how this plays out. Now, the Necropolis Knights cost a fair bit more than the Black Orcs, and I don't think they're going to win this in just head-to-head. I think they're going to be good because they'll poison Black Orcs, and they'll be better at this type of role than they would be, you know, against cavalry. But look here, look at the Black Orc just punishing that Necropolis Knight. This one over here doing better, though. So one of them defeated soundly, 45 Black Orcs left. And the other one going to be defeated with 38 Black Orcs left. So better, but still not the right use. Necropolis Knights, again, are looking like they're going to be a unit that's going to need some support so that they can use their poison and anti-armor to be effective. They're not going to be a unit that looks like it wants to get thrown in head-to-head. I don't know, maybe if they support your Lord and they're poisoning an enemy Lord and doing anti-armor, you know, that may be the more appropriate realm for them. Well, another unit we have here, obviously, is the Necropolis Knights with Hal Birds. Now, this unit is specifically anti-large, and it's got some pretty decent stats, and it's still poison. Still poison. So how does this one stack up against the fabled Demigryph Knights? The ones who sit on top of their perch as the best anti-large unit, or probably the best all-around anti-large unit. May not win everything, but probably the best all-around. Let's see. So 100 cheaper. Can they stack up against Demigryphs? All right, the AI didn't cooperate great here, but I think it'll be good enough to get an idea at least. They kind of were cross-charging here. And the enemy general is going to end up fighting with me here too, so this unit right here got a charge against the demis without getting charged, and I think this unit over here did get a proper charge from the Demigryph Knights. So, I mean, where the Demigryph Knights didn't get a good charge, the Necropolis Knights with Hal Birds are doing extremely well. AI is going to disengage, so that test is void anyway. Over here, it's a lot closer fight, but I mean, these Necropolis Knights, they're doing pretty good, all things considered. Pretty good. Now they're going to get attacked by a second one, so it's, again, it's going to void out these tests, but once I get a chance to test against myself, we'll revisit this one, but it looks like the Necropolis Knights with Hal Birds are going to be a really good anti-large unit. Look, they were doubled up on there and still managed to dish out significant damage because of that poison and the fact that they don't rout. We may have something to challenge the Demigryph Knights here with folks. I know this isn't conclusive because of the way the charges went, but that's still an impressive result because the Necropolis Knights with Hal Birds cost less. Look at that. They're going to win, too. What do y'all think? Again, I'll revisit this one when I can do a proper test. But I mean, they're going to straight up defeat 2 units of Demigryph Knights with Hal Birds in this scenario. In this scenario. With proper charges, it may not be the case. You also got to remember that the Empire has Lore of Life. So, curious. Alright, let's keep looking at roster. We've got Tomb Scorpions here, which are going to be an anti-infantry unit. So this would be something more appropriate probably to see whether or not it can help plow through Black Orcs. It's got armor piercing and anti-infantry. Obviously, it's going to be good against a blob of low-tier infantry. And then if we look at some of the rest of these, a lot of these war machines, like so the Khemrian War Sphinx and the Tomb Scorpion are both going to be anti-infantry. It's just the War Sphinx is going to have a missile attack and more hit points. And it's going to do more damage as well. The Necro Sphinx is anti-large. So this is an anti-large monster. It can induce terror. So this is going to be something probably like a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, which would be an interesting test for it. We'll try and put the 2 head-to-head. And then you got this Necro Sphinx, which is the special edition here. The special edition comes with flaming magical attacks. So interesting. Let's test the Tomb Scorpion and the the Khemrian War Sphinx at the same time. And let's go up against, once again, some Black Orcs to give ourselves a solid test. I will see you all on the battlefield. Alright, again, Khemrian War Sphinx has a lot of ammunition, a lot of range, does some missile damage. Don't think it's going to play a huge role. I'm just going to go straight into the Black Orcs, and I'm going to let the Goblin War Boss fight with the Black Orcs, because I just don't want the Tomb King influencing this. So again, no Necrotect, no Lord really influencing this fight. This one cost a lot more than Black Orcs, so you would hope it can win, or at least output that kind of damage. The Tomb Scorpion costs less, so if it wins, it's a pretty sweet trade. Look at this, the Khemrian War Sphinx just blasted right through these guys. I'm assuming these units are anti-infantry. They probably get a bonus, but it could also be due to their splash damage. It's going to take a while for that fight, and it looks like the Gobbo is trying to chase down my Tomb King. Let's just fast forward, see how this plays out. So again, this is just charge in, click and forget kind of gameplay. Obviously, these units could be used more effectively than this. The War Sphinx is dishing it out. The Tomb Scorpion, as it gets slowed down, is starting to get battered by the Black Orcs. But yeah, you can see the Sphinx is definitely getting some serious work done. These guys would really obviously be better spent with other infantry supporting while they do their work, so that not all the attacks get focused on them. But if we look here, the Khemrian Sphinx might be able to do that. Tomb Scorpion got beat, took about half of the Black Orcs' hit points with it. But it looks like the Khemrian War Sphinx is not only going to be able to beat its Black Orc, but probably finish off what was left of the Scorpions. Which means that this thing is going to be an expensive, albeit quite effective, infantry killer. Now remember, Black Orcs don't get hit by terror either, which the War Sphinx does cause terror, so any unit that gets hit by it, it's not supported, so in this case it's losing its leadership a little, but it shouldn't, it would just crumble if anything. It looks like it's going to win. So yeah, this Khemrian War Sphinx is going to have over 80 Black Orc kills with no support whatsoever. It's pretty impressive. Tomb Scorpion, I mean, it didn't really seem to pay off. And again, when you just throw it in and forget it, I think the Tomb Scorpion's best features are going to be when it plows through an enemy line, does infantry damages, gets skirmishers, turns around and comes back for infantry after your infantry is still tangled up with them, maybe. But the Khemrian War Sphinx picked up 2 chevrons and killed a heck of a lot of Black Orcs. So that is going to be one very effective anti-infantry monster. Next up here, we got the Hierotitan. So this is going to be another one that's not specifically anti-infantry, but it's also not large. Let's throw one of these things in, and let's try and get, let's see, the Necro Sphinx. So what we'll do is we'll try to do a test against Chaos. I doubt it will work, but we will do our best. Let's sit in a Chaos Lord, items like that, and then what let's do is let's throw a Shaggoth. We probably really should be testing this one at a time, but it's, I mean, AI is not going to cooperate. So I want a Shaggoth, and let's throw in a Chosen with Hal Bird here, just to see how the Titan does against a blob of infantry, and let's see how the actually, yeah, I mean, let's try this. Let's just see what happens. I'm trying to think how I really want to do this. I'm not going to test the Titan right now, because I don't know exactly how I want to test it. Let's throw these guys out. And let's throw like a unit of Najara Warriors in here with my Lord, just to keep the enemy Lord busy. I really want to see as much Dragon Ogre versus Necro Sphinx as possible here. Right off the bat, we can see the Necro Sphinx has better armor. 460 anti-large, anti-armor, 550 anti-large, anti-armor, 60 charge, 60 charge. I think the Necro Sphinx takes this one home. We're gonna go, oh yeah, look at him. He's beating the crap out of this Dragon Ogre. So I mean, this Necro Sphinx is gonna be a seriously tough anti-large monster. This is probably gonna be your best protection against stuff like dragons and stuff too. You're gonna need nets and Necro Sphinx. Let's keep the Chaos Lord bit. Look at that though, just easily besting a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. Yeah, that Necro Sphinx is some serious business, folks. It's even the fight out a little bit here towards the end. Let's see how it goes. Yeah, that's a pretty sweet result. But, well, I don't know, man. Look at this. The Dragon Ogre's starting to bring it back. Now looks like it's focused on this blob over here. Ooh, yeah. Finally, a really good hit for the Necro Sphinx. The Dragon Ogre's pulling away from it, though. It started to pull the fight back, but I mean, they're the same cost, and the Necro Sphinx has better stats. So, looks like it's a superior overall anti-large monster there, so that's going to be a great tool for the Tomb Kings. Again, this is probably what's going to protect you from flying Lord spam, because not much else from the Tomb Kings is going to do it. Necropolis Knights with Hal Birds and Necro Sphinx. So yeah, that's all the testing I'm going to do for tonight. We'll come back and revisit some of these units, but for tonight, that'll give you a good feel, I think, for the Tomb Kings roster. We didn't look at their legendary lords or their magic or anything, but just in terms of the infantry, cavalry, other things they're going to be bringing to the field, that gives you a starting feel. Again, I know I didn't hit everything here. That wasn't my purpose tonight. This was to get some of the key units out in front there. So what we can see is that when it comes just pound per pound infantry, Tomb Kings are not going to be top tier. When it comes to their support units in these constructs, yeah, they're going to be pretty good. These Necropolis Knights with Hal Birds, this turned out to be a great unit. Very interesting. Shabti and Shabti with a great bow, these guys are also going to be very interesting. Want to keep an eye on them. Cimmerian War Sphinx, this thing seems similar to a Stegodon or something in the way it deals with infantry. Very effective. And then this Necro Sphinx is going to be very good against enemy monsters and large and cavalry and all that kinds of stuff. So next time we'll do a little more testing on lords, maybe artillery, and a few other units that we skipped through. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I will see you all soon.